Well, now it's really starting to feel like the Royals are pitting Jackson County against Clay County. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday morning. It is so good to have you on board on KCMO Talk Radio. This is not the news I want to be delivering, sharing, talking about with you, but it came down yesterday from Fox 4 here in Kansas City. Jonathan Ketz doing this reporting that per the Kansas City Business Journal and Fox 4, the county, Jackson County, is talking about possibly paying $15 million a year for 20 years to keep the Royals in Jackson County. Now, I don't know, and it's not exactly clear right now what that would mean for sales tax monies as well that the Royals already get. Along with the Chiefs, they split 3/8 of a cent, so they each get about 3/16 of a cent on a sales tax revenue here in Jackson County. I don't know how these two things would work in conjunction, but this report is now out there that you, the taxpayer, could be on the hook for an additional $300 million to the Royals for the next 20 years to keep them right here in Jackson County. I want to hear from you early on a Tuesday morning. It can be on the text line, 913-408-7957. But if you're a Jackson County resident, and by the way, you've been dealing with the headache that is property tax assessments. How much is your home really worth? What's that do to your taxes? Does $300 million to a baseball team, theoretically on top of a sales tax, sound like the way you want your tax dollars being spent? Is this going to go over well in Jackson County? Now, I'm not a Jackson County resident, but if I was a Jackson County resident this morning and I'm waking up and I'm anxious because I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford my property taxes, I'm in the middle of an appeal with the county. They say my home is worth $700,000 when I bought it for half of that 2 years ago. Something stupid like that. You know how it's been going. Many of you have been dealing with it. But if you are a Jackson County resident and you're waking up today and you're like, gosh, I'm in the middle of this appeal. I don't know how much my property taxes are going to be. The county's been screwing me left and right. I can't get a hold of anybody. The appeals process is a complete disaster. Well, you've got to be extra ticked off this morning. I know I would be if I was a homeowner in that county. I'll tell you what, I'd be banging down any county legislator's door that I can find. Of course, figuratively speaking, I'm not suggesting you go bang down anyone's door, but you get the point. I'd be calling Frank White's office. I'd be annoyed right now. This county has not looked out for the taxpayer throughout this entire process for our biggest asset, for many of us, our homes. And now this report leaks to the Kansas City Business Journal and Fox 4 of, hey, by the way, they might get another $300 million just to keep the little baseball stadium here in the county. When, by the way, you ask most Jackson County residents, they like the K the way it is. So Fox 4 was on this last night. Jonathan Ketz, let's play this report. And then I do want to hear from you at 913-408-7957. That is the text line here at 6:08 on a Tuesday morning on KCMO.
According to the Kansas City Business Journal, the county would pay the Royals $15 million a year over a 20-year time period to help get the stadium built.
Well, I don't want to get into the real specifics of the negotiations. That what we gave the legislature was for confidentiality reasons, and so I don't want to get in and try to break it down at this point.
Jackson County Executive Frank White also believes the counteroffer was leaked by someone on the legislature.
I can't speak for a legislator who wants to hold press conferences on the front step and talk about they want to be involved. The administration, we're negotiators. We keep them up to date, and we hope that they keep this information confidential until the right time let it out. But obviously that didn't happen in this point.
White didn't name names, but on Tuesday of last week, legislator Manny Abarca did speak to Fox 4 about how he felt the executive's office was withholding information from them.
That's very interesting, because where would the previous leak come from if that were the case? So I don't know what he's referring to in a press conference out front. I'm guessing it's our conversations. The reality is this is a joint process. There's not one negotiator here. It requires engagement at all levels of that process, and I think that's what we're elected to do.
All right, that's Fox 4 on the reporting. You heard from Frank White there, the county executive, talking about confidentiality. His words when talking about this report, where potentially the county would give $300 million, you heard that right, to the Royals to keep them in Jackson County, Missouri, and obviously theoretically in Kansas City, Missouri. And then you hear from Manny Abarca, who's on the county legislature. And Manny is no friend of Frank White. Manny has been very critical of Frank White on the property tax issue. By the way, fairly critical. Now, Manny is way out in left field when it comes to his politics, but to his credit, he's been good on this issue. But also there is personal political gain here for a lot of people. So let's not overlook that. That's always typically part of the conversation. So is Manny Abarca the leaker on this $300 million? I don't know. Frankly, I don't care. I'll let the politicians worry about that. You know what I'm excited about? We have the news. We have the information. Frank White did not deny it. And what's interesting is I was on to this last week. I had been starting to hear some rumblings about how Kansas City could also be chipping in a couple of $100 million to keep the Royals around Jackson County. I asked Quentin Lucas about this, and by Quentin Lucas standards, this was a very short answer. Because I'm hearing the Royals may be asking Kansas City, Missouri for a couple $100 million in tax incentives. Can you confirm or deny the fact that the Royals have that request out there to the city?
I cannot confirm or deny it for you. What I think I'll say is we continue our conversations with the Kansas City Royals. We have enjoyed having them as residents of Kansas City for a number of years. And as I've told you time and again on this radio show, despite the bluster, the debates, the alleged polls, the everything under the sun, I believe they will continue to be residents of Kansas City, but it's got to make sense for the taxpayers. I would just think sitting here makes a lot of sense that probably it makes a lot of sense. I would think it stands to reason that they might be asking for something like that, but you know, I'm not in a position to talk about all that yet. I think we'll have more ahead, particularly as these conversations continue with Jackson County, the city of Kansas City, the state of Missouri as well.
That was Quentin Lucas on this show last Thursday when I asked him about incentives Kansas City could offer the Royals. So if the Royals are going to Kansas City, Missouri, saying, can we get a couple $100 million in incentives? And then Jackson County is also throwing some cash on the table, if this Kansas City Business Journal report is correct. And then on top of that, they're collecting sales tax revenues. I mean, gosh, I got to own a baseball team that loses 106 games and ask for everything under the stars and the sun. I mean, Jiminy, gosh, that's ballsy. I'll say that's ballsy from the Royals. Just tied a franchise record in losses. Yeah, between the city, the county, direct payments, incentives, sales tax revenues, we're looking at about $1 billion. Gosh, must be nice. Meantime, mom and pop and the small businesses in town are just trying to keep the doors open, thanks to Jackson County's debacle of a tax assessment. Man, this is so messed up. 913-408-7710. Interesting question on the text line. Pete, does all this money get us any pitching? I cannot confirm or deny that. Do you know, Mark? Can you answer that question either way?
They have to develop some first, so probably not.
Probably not. Oh, gosh. Watching playoff baseball the last couple of nights, thinking about how the Royals are a mile away from getting back to that. Sad to say.
We need a Zach Wheeler on our team.
Yep. Take anybody at this point with an arm. Sheesh. Although, once again, September was good. I'll say that much. 913-408-7957. We are now on your FM dial at 95.7. Hit that preset as we get a Tuesday morning started on KCMO. Now, speaking of baseball, what Kansas City in appeared on national TV last night. And what was this person drinking? Don't miss it next on KCMO, now on FM at 95.7. Did you hear and see who was conveniently watching some playoff baseball last night? I was not watching it, I readily admit. I kept an eye on the Monday Night Football game, the Cowboys and the Chargers. By the way, Chargers got a raw deal, man. They got to come to Kansas City 6 days after they play Monday Night Football, and the Chiefs have been off since the prior Thursday, Mark. Jeez, they got screwed.
Chiefs get the advantage there. I like that.
Big time, not even close. So now, playoff baseball taking place last night, and Travis Kelce is in Philadelphia at the Phillies game where they're playing the Diamondbacks. And how convenient. Yesterday, we started the show telling you how Travis Kelce was on the sidelines at the Eagles game cheering on his brother, drinking a Corona. And it was a half second, a split second, where you saw Travis Kelce picking up his Corona beer. And as I noted on this show, I knew he wasn't a Bud Light guy. Despite the fact that he's doing these dopey Bud Light commercials, I knew deep down if Travis Kelce had his druthers, was not a Bud Light guy. Well, one day after he gets busted drinking a Corona, he magically appears at a playoff baseball game on national TV. And what is he doing? Sucking down a nice, warm Bud Light. I'm just assuming it's warm, by the way. How convenient. Somebody called Travis Kelce's agent and said, get him back on national TV and get him drinking a damn Bud Light. That's what I think ended up happening here. Travis Kelce's agents got an earful from InBev, Anheuser-Busch, and they said, we paid y'all a fortune to pretend to like Bud Light, and you couldn't even do it on the day you're standing on the sidelines watching your brother play a football game. So you know what you're going to do to make it right? You are going to stay in Philadelphia. You are going to go to this playoff game tonight, and you are going to sit there in the front row of your suite with your brother, and you are going to drink a Bud Light. That's what you're going to do, Travis. And that's my conspiracy theory on what happened, Mark. How does that sound?
I think that's a good conspiracy. My conspiracy is I think that he just like whatever people hand him, that's what he drinks.
Oh, you think he's one of those guys?
I think he just drinks a lot.
Well, that brings up a whole other issue, which we'll get to here in a second. But it's fascinating as I'm looking at the Bud Light. Travis Kelce is like perfectly holding the can so the word Bud is facing out towards the cameras. I am going deep down this rabbit hole because I don't buy it for a second that he was conveniently at a Phillies game the night after drinking a Bud Light less than 24 hours after he got busted drinking a Corona on the sidelines. And did you see his brother, by the way? Jason? So Jason was drinking a beer, and it looked like a Bud Light because it had the blue top, but he had a koozie on it because even he was embarrassed to be having one of these beers. He wanted no part of it. So that's how I think this went down. But a lot of people are trolling me. Oh, you're making fun of Travis, saying he was having a Corona. Look, he drinks Bud Light, man. Oh, come on. Yeah, conveniently, one day after he gets busted, he's now back on national TV. Just having an ice cold Bud, man. Just a couple of bros drinking Bud. Please. Now, here's what it sounded like last night on national TV.
Oh, the Kelce brothers, Travis and Jason. Cheers, bro.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything better than that?
It's so cliche. It's like they knew the cameras were going to be on them. Hey, let's make sure. Hey, yeah, here's my Bud Light. Is my Bud. Yeah, did you guys know I'm a Bud Light sponsor? Here's my Bud Light. I mean, come on.
And the announcers, too. Oh, the brothers.
Oh, the bros. Cheers, bro.
Oh, the Kelce brothers, Travis and Jason. Cheers, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything better than that?
Cheers, bro. Yeah, let's make sure we get our... As the Bud sign facing out towards the cameras, there it is. Oh, please, come on.
I feel like Budweiser is the MLB sponsor, but I don't know for sure off the top of my head. But
oh, all I know is I don't know either who the official MLB sponsor is on the beer side, but I know this much. That was totally a setup last night. Now, I do wonder this, though. I mean, can someone tell Travis Kelce we're in the middle of the season, too, please?
Yeah, that's true.
This is 2 straight days of him going to games halfway across the country, drinking beers. Listen, I'm not saying he can't have a beer in the middle of the football season, but at some point, Travis Kelce seems like he's acting like it's March. It's like, dude, you almost re-injured your ankle, by the way, this past week. Can I get you back in Kansas City getting a little rehab on the ankle? I don't think that's too much to ask.
Looks like Corona and Budweiser are the beers of MLB.
Well, same company, so I'm guessing they're just fine with him drinking Bud Light, which is still getting its clock cleaned, by the way, down about 30% year over year. So they'll take whatever they can get.
Patrick mentioned how sometimes Travis will just say things and he doesn't know if he's being serious or not. Like, hey, I'm going to go to the World Series game. Well, he might have done this for the playoff game, too. Patrick doesn't know if he's actually going to go to the playoff game, and then there he is on national TV. He saw him there. Well, there he is.
So he's in New York all weekend, by the way, right? I mean, he got there over the weekend. He's spending time with his girl, Taylor Swift. All right, I said the name. Get over it. And then he's going to his brother's game down in Philadelphia, football game. Then he's going to the Phillies playoff game last night. I just wonder, I mean, the guy's a veteran. And he had a great game on Thursday, 9 catches, 125 yards. But I just sit back for a second and I wonder, where's his head at? Because we got a game now in 5 days, a divisional game against the only team that's got a chance to potentially beat the Chiefs in the division. And I need your head here in Kansas City. I was surprised that he was allowed to be in Philadelphia yesterday. I get it on Sunday, but I figured he had to be back probably in the facility by yesterday on a Monday to get ready for the week, and I guess that's not the case. So I don't know what the rules are there, but I'm not loving the amount of beer I'm seeing him drink halfway across the country.
Andy must give him a little bit of an extra rest on the mini bye that they have here.
All right. Well, listen, Andy knows what he's doing, but I'm just hoping none of this comes back to bite him. In the meantime, Travis Kelce's somewhere having a Bud Light, bragging about it. All right. 913-408-7957. Hey, don't forget, it's Tirade Tuesday. That's coming up at 8:30. It's your chance to rant on anything that you want. So that is right around the corner on KCMO Talk Radio. Well, it's a couple hours away, but right around the corner, the UAW strike. We haven't talked about that in a while. We'll get to it next. We haven't heard from our friends in the UAW lately, United Auto Workers Union. They've been quiet. Well, I don't want to say they've been quiet, but their storyline has taken a back seat, obviously, to what's been happening overseas. Understandably so, by the way. But the UAW is still on strike. And late last week, they had nearly 9,000 workers walk off the job at one of their big plants in Louisville. It is the largest and most profitable Ford plant in the world. And 8,700 union members walked out late last week. Now, this obviously is not going to supersede what is going on overseas, but it still is a major American story, and there's no end in sight. Now, I think I heard this from our guy Ray Stevens in the middays last week, and I thought it was a good point from Ray, which is that Shawn Fain, the UAW president, sympathy is not going to be on their side anymore because, well, the news media in large part has forgotten about it. But also, listen, people are not focused on you anymore. So it's not going to be where people are picking sides and going against the big bad corporation. Like, just take the deal. You got a 20% raise on the table, right? Pretty damn good deal. Sorry, you're not getting 32-hour work weeks and, 40% pay raises. That's not the real world there, Shawn Fain, head of the UAW. So let's all just, shake hands and get a good deal and move on. Well, that's not what Shawn Fain is doing. It's a big mistake, by the way. And it's impacting us here locally. We know that the KCK GM plant, the Fairfax plant, has been shut down now. And that's in large part because the Wentzville plant on the St. Louis side of the state was one of the first to strike, and that impacts the parts that the Fairfax plant receives here in KCK. And there's a lot of small businesses in the area that are getting impacted by the fact that those folks are not at work. So it's not just about the cars and GM and Ford. It's about the small businesses around the plants that now are struggling mightily because those people are not at work. So it goes beyond just the tit for tat between the automakers and the UAW workers. There are a lot of you, by the way, who have called us and called this show who also have some indirect relationship with the UAW, or the car dealers, I should say, and your business is getting impacted by all this. So what is Shawn Fain doing? Well, Shawn Fain is too busy continuing to try to beat up the executives of these companies and win the class warfare game that he has chosen to play. So if you didn't see this clip, Shawn Fain, the guy is right out of Bernie Sanders' playbook, by the way. He does this interview with a guy named Ron Placone. I don't know who Ron is, but looks like a left-wing activist of sorts. And he's talking to Shawn Fain here in the last day or so. And take a listen to what Shawn Fain says when he gets asked whether or not he's got one of those Eat the Rich shirts on. You know, take a listen to what he says here.
Yesterday you had on an Eat the Rich t-shirt. Is it time to send a message to the 1%?
Still do today.
And Shawn Fain pulls up his sweatshirt, and you see his Eat the Rich shirt. I was worried I was going to see his pepperoni nipples or something like that. But no, instead we just saw his Eat the Rich t-shirt that he had on. Oh, yeah, I still proudly got it on today. I mean, do you wash it, buddy? Do you wash your clothes, Shawn Fain, or no?
Yeah, it's time to turn this country around. You know, I don't begrudge anybody for doing well in this country, but billionaires have no reason to exist.
Stop right there. According to the guy who is in charge of the UAW negotiation, he does not believe that billionaires should exist. Now, I am not going to be a billionaire. Odds are you are not going to be a billionaire. But does that mean I don't think billionaires should exist? No, because, you know, if billionaires exist and if you become a billionaire, you are creating, theoretically, unless you win the lottery, you are creating thousands of good-paying jobs for Americans and people around the entire globe who then can support their family and achieve their dreams. That's what the majority of billionaires do through the companies that they create. I'm not here to defend Jeff Bezos. I'm not a big Bezos boy or anything like that. But, you know, I don't begrudge Jeff Bezos when I see his yachts and, you know, all the different homes that he's got and things like that for being the founder of Amazon. Amazon has made a lot of people a lot of money. And not only people who work for the company, but how about the millions of Americans who might own some Amazon stock? Whether it's directly in a 401k, in a mutual fund, in an ETF. Amazon, Jeff Bezos' company, has made a lot of people a tremendous amount of money, and not just folks who work for the company. But I got to listen to this guy, Shawn Fain, who wants to be taken seriously in this negotiation, tell the American people that he doesn't think that a billionaire should exist. Now, let's be clear. Nobody ever makes $1 billion a year. Like, you don't draw a salary. You're not a W-2 employee making $1 billion a year. It's because you founded a company, right? That's how you become a billionaire. It's not through some paycheck. That's oftentimes how it's portrayed by these kind of folks like Shawn Fain, but that's never how it actually works. Anyway, let's continue with the blowhard.
In society, period. No one needs that kind of money. And especially when someone's that wealthy, somebody else is being exploited for it.
No. That is not true, Shawn Fain. That's not how this works. Money is not a zero-sum game. There is not a pot of money in the world or in America that needs to be divided equally amongst individuals. That's not how it works. Shawn Fain might think that's how it works, but that is not how it works. Especially in America, the market is always growing. The marketplace continues to grow. There is not a finite pot of money that if a billionaire takes some of it, that doesn't leave enough for somebody else. So what I'm going to offer Shawn Fain is a crash course in Econ 101 class. I'll pay for 3 of his credits down the street at Johnson County Community College. It's on me, Shawn, okay?
Such a nice man.
I'm just here to be a pal and help you out.
Millions of people are being exploited for it. And that's what's wrong in this country. We've got to turn it around. We've got to change the narrative. Everybody deserves their fair share of economic and social justice. And it's a damn shame that people are scraping to get by paycheck to paycheck. And that's the reason why is because it's creating more billionaires at the expense of the many. And, no one around here gives a shit if another billionaire can build his own rocket ship and fly to outer space. That's not important to us.
Boy, he is really just appealing to the lowest common denominator. Is he not, Shawn Fain, UAW president? And he got all the keywords in there. Economic and social justice. We're just looking for economic and social justice. Fair share. Billionaires shouldn't exist. I mean, if I handed you the words of that little rant from Shawn Fain, you would think it was, Bernie Sanders on the Senate floor. Right? That's what you would think. You would say, where's Fidel Castro when I need him? That's the guy running the UAW. That's the guy negotiating against Ford and GM and Stellantis. And you know who's laughing all the way to the bank? Well, we'll tell you who is laughing all the way to the bank. Plus, get to you at 913-408-7957. It's 913-408-7957. Since we're now on 95.7 FM, hit that preset as we get this Tuesday morning rocking and rolling. Pete Mundo on KCMO Talk Radio. 7:05 Tuesday morning. Hello, good morning. How are you? Welcome in. 95.7 FM is now how you find us on KCMO. Hit that preset. It's funny. I am still, obviously, we're day 5, I guess, on this new frequency, 95.7 FM. And, we're getting tweets last night, some very nice tweets that we're getting from many of you who are just maybe getting back in the town. You haven't been around. This came, we got a bunch of things last night I got here on social media. This from Travis in Lenexa. He says, I get back in the town, and what happens? I'm hearing Pete Mundo and Ray Stevens on 95.7. He goes, I absolutely love it. Well, that's very nice.
Such a nice man.
Very nice. This is from Adam last night on X, formerly Twitter. He writes here, just wanted to say, plenty of people joke about talk radio on AM, but KCMO adding 95.7 with Pete Mundo at the helm has got to be one of my favorite things to come out of this year. Well, that's very nice of them, is it not, Mark?
Yeah, I've been hearing people could hear it all the way out past Topeka.
Yes.
To Nevada, Missouri.
Man,
I mean,
that's what I love to hear. That's what I love to hear. Well, I've caught 95.7 almost clear out to Manhattan on a good day. I mean, this thing is a monster. 100,000 watts. So it's good stuff all around, and we are so excited to be here on 95.7. So welcome in if you're just joining us here on KCMO Talk Radio. There's a lot that we're going to be getting to throughout the morning. Now, this hour, there's no silver linings. There's nothing good about what's taking place in Israel, in Gaza, between Hamas and the Israelis. But there's something happening locally that could be a net positive for sanity in Kansas City. The group KC Tenants, they're an organization that we have spent a lot of time, not a lot, but, when they come up in the news, we push back on them in a way that nobody else in media in this town will. They are, and this is not my opinion, they are essentially a communist organization that believes, the city should be providing free housing for everybody. Housing is a right. They want kind of universal housing. That's a big part of what they push for. Now, they'll say that they're an organization that is just fighting back against corrupt landlords. And there is an element of that they do that is actually noble. I'll give them that. There is. There are people who are dealing with scumbag landlords around Kansas City, and they don't have the means to fight back, and KC Tenants can help them do that. But that's where the good part of what they do ends. After that, it's much more about a bigger picture, and that is changing Kansas City, specifically its housing policy, in a way that will be a complete and utter failure for the taxpayer in Kansas City. And for anybody who owns property in Kansas City, by the way. So they got a handful of people elected to the city council back in April. And, I'm sitting here, I'm only one man. I can only do so much. But I'm the only guy saying, hey, if KC Tenants is endorsing them, that's not a candidate that you want to get behind if you're a property owner or a business owner or just a common sense individual in Kansas City, Missouri. Now, if you're someone who sees and is like-minded to them, well, guess what? That's on you. Fine, whatever. You got every right to vote for whoever you want to vote for. But I'm telling you, it's not going to be good for the future of Kansas City, Missouri. So a lot of these folks ended up winning. Too many of them. Now, there's not a majority of Kansas City Council people who are KC Tenants endorsed, but the number is growing. And what happened this week, as we've seen with many organizations of this ilk, is we've seen their true colors. They have been very much anti-Israel, anti-Jew, and pro-Hamas over the last week. And some of their members have been very much of that ilk. KC Tenants put up on social media yesterday, we grieve the violence of the ongoing occupation and the escalation in Gaza this week, funded with our tax dollars. We call for an end to mass displacement and mass killings, KC Tenants writes. Very much sympathetic to what Hamas is dealing with and what they have been doing, by the way, to their own people in Gaza. That is from the Kansas City Tenants organization. Now, ask yourself why they feel the need, first off, to even open their mouths on this issue and show how radical they really are. Well, because that's what these groups do. They have no shame. They had one of their members, by the way, who was supposed to be on the city planning board or the zoning commission as an alternate, and Mayor Lucas did the right thing, by the way, and removed this guy as an alternate on the zoning commission after he came out and called Israel what did he call him here? Got it right in front of me. A genocide. He said they had genocidal intentions, referring to Israel. One of the organizers with KC Tenants. So these are not mainstream folks. This is not like, we can sit here all day and argue about what the tax rate should be, sales taxes, how high those should be. I mean, we can beat around the bush a little bit and try to figure out what's in the best interest of Kansas City when it comes to policy. But when you've got organizations like KC Tenants with prominent leaders who are calling Israel a country with genocidal intentions, when they're defending Hamas leadership in Gaza, that tells you a lot about who they really are. And this is a group that has gained a lot of power at City Hall. I mean, I've been here now 6 years, and I've seen them grow when it comes to their power at City Hall. And my hope is that for some of the more mainstream politicians at City Hall in Kansas City, Missouri, this is a bit of a wake-up call for them. Mayor Lucas has been very steadfast. Disagree with him all you want, and I do on a lot of things. But he has been very steadfast in his support of Israel over the last week and a half or so. He has not wavered. It has gotten many to his left very upset with him here in town. But he's done the right thing, and he stood on the right side of history and morally as well. He's been right. Now, he's been wrong about a lot of things, so don't get all upset and say, yeah, but. It's not a yeah, but. I'm having this conversation about this issue right now. He's been on the right side of it. And I'll give credit for that. And my hope, if there isn't anything good that comes out of this, it's that some of these types of groups, notably KC Tenants, make some of the people at City Hall take a step back and say, maybe these aren't people that we want to be giving more power to at City Hall. Maybe these are bad actors that have no business having a seat at the table, as they say, right? Just maybe that is one of the small things that comes out of this. By the way, did you hear some of the chanting that was going on in Boston yesterday?
Biggest threat in the world today? Israel and USA. So when they try to isolate the Palestinian resistance and vilify it, what are we going to do? We're going to fight back, right?
It's all the same ilk. I mean, KC Tenants, they're going to be stealing that line in no time. Biggest threat in the world today, Israel and the USA. I'm telling you, you're going to see that one on the plaza starting on, Friday afternoon. It might be tomorrow. None of them have jobs anyway. 913-408-7957. 913-408-7957 as we hit 7:14 on a Tuesday morning on KCMO Talk Radio. Charlie Gasparino, Fox Business Network, is going to be here just after 8 o'clock. Tirade Tuesday at 8:30. If you're new, Tirade Tuesday is your chance to rant and rave about anything. The topics are whatever you choose them to be. That's in an hour and 15 minutes. Don't miss it right here on KCMO. A local community college got itself in some hot water, but they did the right thing over the last few days. We'll tell you what that was coming up next. So last week, we told you about how Garden City Community College out west had taken in Arterio Morris. And this came just after he was kicked out of KU on allegations of rape. It's a guy who's had, a ton of issues going back to his time at Texas when he had entered a plea deal to end a misdemeanor assault case against him. And then he has this rape accusation from just last month at KU. I mean, it was, and if you go in and you read the police report, I understand innocent until proven guilty. I trust me, we've seen a lot of people who are innocent be accused of things, and the media and society destroys their lives, and then they turn out to be innocent and nobody talks about it, right? Meantime, these individuals' lives are ruined. And we take accusations as now a guilty verdict, and that's wrong. However, there are times when you can piece things together based on somebody's past and then also look at a police report and at least come to the conclusion as to whether or not there might be something there. And when it comes to this former KU basketball player, Arterio Morris, if you read the police report, if you read the statements from individuals involved, who was told what, not just the woman, but, her telling her friends immediately after, other KU basketball players were in the know on this. You factor in this guy's history. There's at least enough there that makes you say, you know what? If I'm another college, I just don't want this guy around my campus. Let the legal process work through it and then go from there. But Garden City Community College took this guy in a couple of days after he was kicked out of KU. And when that happened last week, I came on the show and I said that is an enormous mistake. I have two daughters. If I had a daughter who was out of Garden City Community College, I would be calling up that president, that athletic director, the basketball coach. I would not want somebody like that around my daughter or daughters on a college campus. Colleges are not supposed to be a place where we have to worry about the well-being of our kids and whether or not they're walking around, people who are facing 50 to 60 years for rape allegations. That's not something we have to worry about or shouldn't have to worry about. So it turns out that Arterio Morris is no longer enrolled at Garden City Community College. And as I'm looking at some of the news articles on this is crazy, Mark. The athletic director at Garden City Community College is, and I forgot about this, you cross a lot of people over your career, and the director of athletics at Garden City Community College is my former boss.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh.
His name is Mike Pilasoff. he hired me in Woodward, Oklahoma, to my first full-time radio job. He was my boss out there. And he was a broadcaster. He's a very good broadcaster. But he went up to Garden City. He was doing radio up there for a while. And then he transitioned into, the administration, athletic administration. I think he was the play-by-play guy at Garden City Community College for a lot of years. And now he's the athletic director there. So I'm reading all these stories, and you know how it goes. Like, you're reading the story, and you're like, wait, what? My former boss is the AD at Garden City Community College? Now, I don't know what he knew and when he knew it, but I sent him a text this morning when I saw the news. I'm sure he wasn't awake. But I'm like, geez, dude, good job giving Morris the boot. And now I want to figure out how exactly that happened at Garden City Community College and how anybody allowed that to slip through the cracks because, the community colleges are not big, right? I mean, and let's be honest, the football team and the basketball team, they're the ones who are going to get the most attention. I got to imagine the administrators knew about this possibility. But then when I'm reading the stories, I'm like, wait, the guy that hired me in Northwest Oklahoma is now the AD. And good, we got a good relationship. He was here in Kansas City. It must have been 4 or 5 years ago now. He came to town. We got together, had a bite to eat, grabbed a beer, whatever it was. So it's all good there. But now I got to get to the bottom of this, Mark. Now I got to figure out how Arterio Morris ends up at Garden City Community College days after he's kicked out of KU for a legitimate rape accusation.
By the way, KU's not going to miss him. They're preseason number 1 without him.
Oh, well, yes. He came in from the Texas Longhorns, right?
Yeah.
They didn't need the guy anyway. Get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if they needed him, obviously you can't have somebody like that on campus. But gosh, that was a mistake by Bill Self. Let's just call it like it is. That bringing him on campus to begin with, you're KU. You don't need guys who are settling misdemeanor assault claims with ex-girlfriends down in Texas. You don't need that. Come on, Bill. And by the way, 95.7 gets clear out. We are crystal clear in Lawrence. So I know we're now Bill Self's favorite radio station. Come on, Bill. You know better.
Let's go, Bill.
Come on, man. Sheesh. Coming up, education on the Kansas side of the state line. We've got some new testing scores that came out, and they're not looking good. We'll get to that with Dave Traubert and then Charlie Gasparino at 8. No, some of you are going to be so upset. Oh, my gosh. It's so funny. I post on anything on social media about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, and you would think that the world's going to end. Now the world might end, but it's not going to be because of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I promise you that. It's like, relax. It's going to be okay. Life doesn't have to be doom and gloom. It doesn't. We can have some levity once in a while, all right? And I bring that up, and I have Mark roll out the Taylor Swift because there's actually a feel-good Taylor Swift story in the news. And since Taylor Swift is spending so much time here in Kansas City as of late, I figure these two match made in heaven. Hard news with Taylor Swift. What more can you ask for if you're doing this on KCMO 95.7 FM? So Taylor Swift's bodyguard has returned home to Israel to volunteer in the Israeli Defense Forces amid the war with Hamas. Now, we don't know his name. He is an unidentified security guard. He gained online fame during Taylor Swift's Eras tour this summer. And he posted a picture on his social media pages of him in his military uniform, writing in part, "I stand with Israel. Shouldn't be just about a person. Stands with the one and only Jewish state. It should be, I stand with humanity." He added on his social media page, "While one side is protecting babies, kids, and the elderly, the other side is using those as human shields. It'll be an insult to animals worldwide to call them animals. But those are not human beings," referring to Hamas. "They killed and slaughtered families in their beds alongside families' pets. And then they burnt the houses down. Try to imagine that happening in your own neighborhood, to your next-door neighbors, or to a family you know." So this news was broken by Israeli journalist Eran Suisa, And Taylor Swift's bodyguard now confirmed it on his social media pages. He added here, I got a pretty great life back in the U.S., got an amazing dream job that I love, great friends that I call family, and a very comfortable home. I didn't have to come here, he writes. But I could not stand on the sidelines while families are being slaughtered and burned alive in their homes, just for being Jewish or being Israelis. He continued, I'm not only standing here with Israel and actually standing here, I'm standing here with humanity. Don't be on the wrong side of history. Don't stand on the sidelines and say nothing. Stand with Israel. Stand with humanity. Now, Taylor Swift has not publicly addressed the conflict, of course, but I will say this is pretty damn admirable. This guy's got a pretty cushy job. He gets to be Taylor Swift's bodyguard. Probably makes a small fortune doing it. Gets to hang out with Taylor Swift, all the amenities that entails, including, hopefully telling Travis Kelce to shave his damn mustache. That would be a nice perk of the job. I'm trying to get him to not drink Bud Light, that as well. But on a serious note, would this ever happen in America? Like, can you think, yes, you think back to 9/11. I think about, folks like Pat Tillman, who gave up an NFL career to go serve his country and, of course, got killed overseas after 9/11. But you've got Israelis who are leaving the U.S., who are leaving incredibly cushy jobs to go put their lives on the line to fight the terrorists who slaughtered now 1,400 Israelis, the equivalent on a per capita basis of 8 or 9 September 11ths in that country. That is admirable stuff. That is the kind of stuff that we should be talking about more, celebrating, promoting, love of country, love of family. That's the kind of stuff we have to get back here in America. Israel has that because of their unique status in the world. You have to obviously serve your country when you turn 18 in Israel. If we had some type of service requirement here in the U.S., frankly, I think we'd be much better off. We got it way too damn good in this country. Let's just call it like it is. Way too good. I mean, people who are advocating on behalf of Hamas, they have no idea how those people live on a daily basis. We have it way too good in this country. And part of the reason I think that Israelis have that tight-knit community that they do is not just obviously the historical atrocities that they've dealt with as Jews, but I think a large part of it is how that country is set up when it comes to required service. Because then you also get, it never leaves you. It's always with you. It always sticks with you. And when Taylor Swift's bodyguard is deciding to go back to Israel to risk his life on behalf of his country, that's the kind of stuff that just seems far-fetched here in the U.S. And that's sad to say.